Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 16, Profit Motive. Quark and Rom have to help the Grand Nagus after the wormhole aliens make him kind and generous.
And Bashir is in the worst B-plot. Well, maybe not the worst, but it's pointless.
It was an in-joke about Next Generation failing to win an Emmy. So, yes, you're right, it wasn't very good. It was not as bad as some of the Season 1 Jake and Nog stuff, but it was kind of uninteresting.
It felt like the writers watched Season 1 and saw how bad Bashir was, and then thought it would be funny to have him squirm while trying to be humble because he's so bad at that. I don't know.
It just didn't seem like there was any point to it. We kind of knew he wouldn't win because he said, I'm not going to win. And I guess even if he did, it would not mean much because it's an award that we have never heard of and has absolutely no emotional weight. And he's up against 4 or 5 random names that mean nothing.
Yeah, it's all inconsequential. We don't care. The parts of that I did like were Odo engaging in gossip and O'Brien trying to rattle Bashir during their game of darts.
It was nice to see Odo actually doing some character-based detection work, what that had an actual reason to it, rather than just him saying, oh, I knew it because I pay attention.
Yeah, which is his usual line.
So if anything, this B-plot only explored characters other than Bashir.
Which is fine to explore other characters, but they spent so much time on it. Maybe they didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it dragged, so it felt like they did.
Yeah, I don't think they spent that much time. Anyway, aside from the B-plot, what did you think of the A-plot?
Not a fan.
You didn't like it?
I thought it was okay. There's a lot of funny stuff in there, but I thought it was a weak A-plot.
It was kind of a fillery episode, in as much as a Star Trek show can have filler.
There were a lot of little moments I enjoyed, mostly involving Rom.
Yeah, he's very funny. I like this episode. I thought I wasn't gonna because I could remember, oh, the Nagus goes funny and they fix him. So going into it, I was a bit hesitant, but to be honest, I laughed quite a lot. I thought it was just very funny seeing mostly Rom, like you said, doing a bunch of daft stuff.
Doing daft stuff, saying daft stuff, and wearing slippers.
I think Quark and Rom and the Nagus all have pretty good comic timing. They're pretty good at these little comedy scenes, so it works really well with them.
They bounce off of one another really well. Quark does this thing where he has heightened misery and he plays it for laughs, and it's really funny when he does that.
I wonder if that's an exaggeration because of the prosthetics.
Exaggeration can go either way. It can ruin it or make it better, and it works better here, and maybe because of that they are limited with what they can convey with their faces. But I love when the Ferengi go all out.
Yeah, my top moment for Ferengis being very Ferengi was when Quark licks the binding of the book. like all the way around. And then says, oh no, that's not it. As if that could somehow reveal something.
The irony of the entire thing is funny. They're despairing because the Negus became an altruistic Ferengi. He's becoming a better person, but that's awful in their eyes.
Maybe this episode is what inspired Bill Gates and Warren Buffett to donate their fortunes to charity.
I thought his whole charity thing was going to be a scheme because it is a known tactic of persuasion where you give things away because people feel indebted to reciprocate. So that's an effective tool of persuasion. But if they did that, that would have been very straightforward and not interesting.
The charity thing was odd. It's one thing I liked about it was that the Ferengi immediately started layering the charity, layers and layers of management. There was 15 of them running around in a room. They all have different titles and stuff.
This episode reveals how disturbing the prophets are. They are willing to completely alter a person's personality as they see fit, giving them what is effectively a lobotomy over a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, I have a few issues with the way the wormhole aliens were used in this episode.
Such as?
Yeah, they really don't like greed, and I'm not sure that that would necessarily be the case. That doesn't seem too consistent with their previous behavior of not understanding things like time.
How so?
Well, they don't know. Okay, they didn't know what time was, and now they want to limit how much a person desires physical things. And they don't know what physical things are really either. Well, I don't know why they're so invested in greed being bad, when to them it probably wouldn't even be that interesting.
It would have to be meaningless to them, right? It's gathering over time.
Yeah, they didn't seem to make much kind of moral judgments of what Cisco did in the pilot. They were just interested in how linear time works and all that, and death and stuff. They didn't get into the particulars of inequality between different classes and stuff.
Yeah. They're very judgmental here.
Yeah, and then their proposed solution makes no sense. Surely they could see that wouldn't work. They must know, as they can peer into the memories of people in their presence, that there are billions of Ferengi. So taking one of them and radically changing its personality doesn't... I don't know why they would expect that to achieve anything.
It could be Wrath of God type of stuff, where God of the Old Testament would just have a bad day and flood the earth.
But in this case, he's not flooding the earth. He's just half
flooding a house.
One guy's house. And also the other issue with the wormhole aliens is they changed Zek, and then later on they changed their mind after it turns out it doesn't work very well. But they don't experience time. So how did that not already happen? What I mean is, why did they do it and then change their mind when the outcome should already have been obvious to them?
That's something I didn't understand either. Why would they ever do anything that wasn't 100% effective?
Well, I guess their decisions are altered by people coming through the wormhole. But it shouldn't matter when they come through the wormhole. If they altered Zek, I guess they should have known that Quark would come and pester them. Maybe. I don't know. It's not really explained, at least so far. how they work. Although in the episode Destiny, they hinted that they could give prophecies to people in the past. So it is suggested that the time at which you enter the wormhole is not relevant to them.
Only when it's convenient for plot.
And that is not a good thing.
They could be a bunch of liars that they actually can't see in the future, and they just say it because it sounds impressive.
Oh, so they're like the French knights from Holy Grail. I told them we already got one. I told them we can see into the future. I have some other criticisms.
Let's hear them.
Okay, Rom apparently stole a chair, well, at least one chair and table from Quark's bar. A chair I could kind of understand, but a table?
Maybe a stockroom table, so something Quark wasn't entirely aware that he owned.
It seems a little enthusiastic to be able to steal furniture en masse and hope your boss doesn't notice. I mean, all a bar is a room full of furniture.
The furniture was tucked away behind the stem bolts.
When Bashir doesn't get the Carrington Award, they turn off the TV immediately. It just goes completely silent. No one moves or anything.
No one makes a sound.
You'd expect there to be a speech or something. It just goes silent and everyone gets really sad, apart from Bashir, who just looks so awkward.
They all silently shuffle off.
I don't know if their television is like the doors and elevators. It just magically knows when to turn it off.
It sensed the mood drop in the room, so it turned it off.
Oh, this is really getting everyone down. It's interesting Bashir was up for a prestigious award when we've often said his medical ethics are, to put it generously, subpar. And this episode is not an exception. Even though he's up for such an award, he's still doing stuff that doctors probably shouldn't be doing.
You probably shouldn't be accepting bribes as a doctor.
Yeah. So he performs a full medical on a foreign dignitary at the request of someone else with other people in the room. And then says there's nothing wrong with him as he gets money from the Negus. It doesn't take a Ferengi to know that there's something wrong with him.
They couldn't even have him not do anything sketchy in an episode when he's up for an award.
Yes.
It's bad enough that he's done all the things he has done, but then to have it happen in this episode is even worse.
I kind of wish we'd counted the number of different ethical breaches he'd made since the start of the show. I don't know what the number would be now. I'm thinking probably in the 20s, considering we're only 62 episodes in. That's not a great track record.
That's a bad ratio.
Even one would be pretty bad, but about a third of the episodes, that's just a guess, but I think it's about a third of the episodes he's done something which is inappropriate for a doctor to do.
And a lot of times it's not even mildly inappropriate. It's really bad, as in stealing a patient's clothes and having her walk around naked.
Yeah, I think his most common offense is just openly sharing patient information that's confidential with pretty much anyone who will listen.
Yeah.
There were a whole lot of rules of acquisition. Well, I should say revised rules of acquisition in this episode.
It was an onslaught of rules.
Yes, I have a list of the ones they directly mentioned. Should we not bother going through these?
No.
No.
Is there much to say about him? Does one strike you?
No.
The way the revised rules were talked about in this episode, I got the impression that the Nagus has carte blanche and can alter them at will.
Well, it seems like, yeah.
That's curious.
They're not even rules anyway. Like, what kind of rule is a wise man can hear prophet in the wind? That's not a rule. That's just advice.
Rom lamented the prospect of having to memorize an entire new list, and that made me think, why do they have to have them memorized anyway?
Well, it's good business acumen to know some stuff about business. But Rom is a bar assistant. I don't think he's going to be making pots of money. Although he did embezzle money from a diplomat during the running of a charity. So don't put it past him. He has his moments. But yeah, it seems like there would be more worth memorizing if there were more direct advice rather than just generally be good at business and you'll make money. You don't need to remember that. That's just fairly intuitive.
It's not stuff that would really help you day to day. They're all so general.
Well, I guess they're good to keep you grounded when you're doing your Ferengi dealings. But I don't know why they'd need to memorize them. Rom's a goofball anyway, so he just says wacky things for the entertainment of people at home.
Oh, the moment worked really well for laughs, but I was thinking of the actual consequences of what he said.
If they don't memorize them, they go to prison.
I could see that.
No, that wouldn't make any sense. They would want people to not memorize them because the best thing in business is uninformed competition.
Are you secretly a Ferengi? Do you have something you need to tell me?
Yes. I have giant ears. It's costing me a fortune in headphones.
Alright, I've mentioned this before, but I have to say it again here. The close-up of Quark being gross about his lobes to open this episode. Watching Ferengi be aroused does not amuse me. It's vulgar, and it feels like I'm watching someone caressing himself in public. It's not pleasant.
So you didn't like the fact that the episode started with Quark's O-face?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's I don't know why they love to do that. I don't know if they think it's just funny or quirky, but it does come off as way too personal.
I think they think it's funny, but I don't get any sort of amusement out of it.
I guess, imagine if it did a similar thing for... Okay, this is going to be a bit raunchy, I don't know. Imagine it had an equivalent opening for O'Brien. So he's in bed with Keiko, maybe, having a bit of roly-poly, and that's where the episode opens. You'd be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Thrown right into that. Whoa, is this the right video?
See, they would never do that, but they'll never hesitate to have Quark showing
rubbing his earballs.
Yeah, that.
Maybe one day they will open an episode with Sisko relieving himself somehow. And then you won't feel that the Ferengi are unfairly treated. Or would that be the opposite from what you want?
I don't even know anymore.
Okay.
Having Cisco join in.
Oh, not join in.
Ugh.
To bring this conversation back to a polite level, do you have a quote?
I do, and it's a long one, so bear with me.
Okay, I'll go make some toast. You just start talking.
Alright. Look, I don't know how you people live, but all of us corporeal, linear whatevers have certain things in common, and one of those things is the need to improve ourselves. Our ambition to improve ourselves motivates everything we do. Without ambition, without, dare I say it, greed, people would lie around all day doing nothing. They wouldn't work, they wouldn't bathe, they wouldn't even eat. They'd starve to death.
Yes. He's not wrong. Greed is an important thing.
It's tough to argue against that.
I like that Quark was trying to sell the idea of fixing Zek to the wormhole aliens, and that he actually managed to sell it to them.
Yeah. Quark is a good spokesman for the Ferengi culture.
Yeah, he's reasonably eloquent and usually not too awful.
He has a lot of self-awareness, and if he doesn't, it's for a laugh.
The quote you gave actually highlights that the wormhole aliens in the pilot were interested that Cisco wanted things, wanted to explore, wanted to seek out new life and all that. And now Zek wants things. He's greedy. I mean, it's a similar thing, just a different phrasing. And they get all mopey and angry.
They didn't like Zek's tone.
But it's so lovely. It's like music. That's no, I'm cutting that.
That's it. We're altering your brain.
It's hard to do an impression of that guy.
Quark!
That's pretty good.
I didn't expect to see so much of the Nagus in this show after he showed up for the first time.
Yes. Wallace Shawn doesn't like the makeup, but he comes back so far once a season. So, good guy. I think once a season is enough for Nagus episodes.
Yeah, more than that would be too much. I would think being the Nagus, he would have a lot of things to do and be busy, but I'm glad he can make the trip once a year to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, don't think about it too much. I'm sure it's explainable somehow. Well, like any boss of a large company, he probably doesn't really do very much. I think it's probably time to move on to the next episode.
Yes.
Okay.